Hey folks, Legionnaire Archery here. One of the subjects that I've been particularly interested in since I've started making bows and arrows, which was now like 12 years ago, has been Aztec Archery. Now we all know that the Aztecs were a warring culture and they were a warrior culture, but there's no evidence of their weapons besides the Makwa whittle and then I believe that the throwing spear, which is the atlatl. So there's really no evidence of the bows and arrows that they used. For some reason, no one has found one yet, and for some reason they were all destroyed. Well, I've been interested in this subject because when there's something that you can't find, it creates more interest, and I guess that's just human nature. And so I've always wanted to replicate one of these bows, yet unfortunately there's no evidence. I can't seem to find any evidence anywhere in the history books, anywhere in the museums, nowhere. The only thing we found, or that I found, has been like evidence of arrowheads, obsidian arrowheads, obviously. Other than that, no bows, no arrows, nothing. And so I started doing some research on the subject. About 2 or 3 years ago, actually more like 4 years ago, I came across this gentleman from Mexico City. He's a professor. He said that supposedly he had read somewhere, I don't know where he got his information from. At first I thought it wasn't very reliable just because I have no idea where he got it from. But he mentioned that the Aztecs had two different types of bows for warfare, but one of them was more powerful than the other, which was a little bit longer, but seldom over 3.5 meters, 4 meters at maximum. And he said that these bows were rawhide backed, and that the arrows were made out of cane. Now, at first I didn't really believe the guy. I then went over to the Peabody Museum online exhibit and I searched their records. I went through, I believe, like hundreds of photos. I finally found a picture of a bow from Jalisco, Mexico. Jalisco is one of the areas that was part of the Aztec Empire, I believe. And so from that image, I came to realize that maybe this guy was not wrong. Maybe he was correct in his information, because what I found was pretty interesting. I have the picture here. You're looking at it now. The picture, as you can see, there's some type of it looks like deer hoops on it, but the deer hoops have some rawhides attached, still have the rawhide attached to them, and they're attached to the back of the bow. And so for me this was amazing, because not only did that match what he was saying, this bow's actually a pretty short bow. It's something like 30-35 inches long. And so he said it was the bows were short. He said they were rawhide back. He also said that the arrows were made out of cane. And so I couldn't get any more coincidences. And I found that picture, and so that's when I realized maybe he might be correct. In my opinion, the Aztecs did use some shorter bows like the one in perhaps this image, and the reason I believe that is because the tribes from the northern part of Mexico, or actually not so much to the north, but like Nayarit, which is a little bit north of where the Aztecs lived, but not so much. Those natives used short bows between 45 and 55 inches long, and their arrows were also made out of cane. Some of the tribes from the northern area, like from Sonora, they used shorter bows. Actually, most of the tribes, the only tribes that didn't use short bows were on the eastern United States and down in the Yucatan Peninsula, where they used bows that were made in the fashion of the South American bows. So that's one of the reasons I believe that's one of the reasons I believe that these bows were short bows. Then the other reason he might be correct is obviously the cane arrows. The cane arrows were a pretty they were used extensively. The Apache used them, the Tarahumaras used them, the people from Nayarit used them, and so river cane, anywhere that it's found, it's used. It's, in my experience, it's a great material, and so I believe that yes, perhaps they used the cane arrows. The only other thing that I believe is that they also decorated their bows in the fashion of their shields. Their shields were decorated with bright colors. They were decorated with feathers, so bright feathers on their bows in different shapes. On the first image, you're able to see 3 shields. Those 3 shields, those 3 examples there, were actually they're in a museum, or they're in a few museums back in Europe. And so if the shields were decorated in that manner, maybe the back of the bow, especially having rawhide, if they had rawhide, they were probably decorated with feathers as well. Maybe not all of them, but certainly the ones that wanted their bows to look nicer, or maybe bows that were of a specific tribe member that had a high status or a high military value. So I do believe the Aztec bows were short. I believe that they used cane arrows, and they might have even been rawhide back. Other than that, if anybody watching this knows or has found information on the subject, please share it with us, because there's a lack of information when it comes to Aztec archery. Anyways, that's pretty much it. That's what I have. I really want to replicate a bow, so I really hope that somebody finds a garrison of Aztec weapons. That would be just absolutely amazing. Maybe they can find a few quivers full of arrows, along with a couple of bows that we can see, and that we can see exactly, so that we can see exactly what they look like and how long they were, and all the other details. Anyways, thanks for watching.